everybody, I'm TJ Majors, spotter. Full schedule this weekend: 6 Cup car, the 42 destroyed truck, and the 88 Xfinity.
Who drives that truck?
Matt Mills.
Has Matt left the hospital yet? Do you know?
He was still there yesterday. I haven't heard from him yet today.
He was kept overnight again, I believe.
Yeah. Brett Griffin, I didn't spot this weekend, and after watching on TV yesterday, I was pretty glad, Freddie.
What's up? Freddie Kraft, spotter for Bubba Wallace, Dawson Sutton, and Kyle Sieg this weekend. Hi, Casey.
Casey Boat here, back from Miami after a buzzing good
You come to
race
Miami?
week.
Buzzing, really?
Yep.
Had to go there
I
already?
might have been trying to find a bee costume on
She
the
was
way
Googling
here.
funny bee jokes during the race.
No, that one just came to me. We do have a full house today with a very special guest.
Yeah, we got a guy who has lived the American dream. He went from a disc jockey at Appalachian State University to the president of PRN, also the lead anchor for PRN for what feels like my whole life, Doug. No offense.
Probably has been.
Welcome to DBC.
It's good to be here. This is great. This is kind of a legendary show now in the NASCAR world. So good to be here.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, I think that's good.
So I met Doug a long time ago doing PR for Elliott Sadler. We obviously, PRN has been a big part of everybody's career that's been in the sport as a driver. We used to do the media days back in Daytona, the shows at Volusia Mall,
Right.
the Fast Talks, and obviously Hermie's been on. I think he still comes on every now and then, right? So, man, I got to ask you, are you the only media person ever to get your own tour name, Doug's Last Lap?
I think so. Because I think I'm the only media person to ever retire that says I'm going out. Everybody else just waits for time to catch up with them, and I wanted to get ahead of time a little bit. So, yes, I am.
Well, that's a good thing. So are you going to remain on as president?
No, I will stay on as the host of Fast Talk, which is our weekly Monday night show. And I'll show up at some tracks, probably do some public address from time to time. I can't divorce myself from everything right off the bat. But as far as doing live play-by-play, that's what I did before.
How in the world did you end up lead anchor? Like, tell me the story of getting literally from Boone, North Carolina to where you're at now.
I got hired at PRN in 1988. Ed Clark, who went on to run Atlanta Motor Speedway, hired me and worked at various jobs there. And then around 92, we had some people leave. And since I was already executive, I thought, well, I'll just move myself into this spot. And we'd all worked together, myself and Mark Garrow and Mark Allen and Steve Richards. And it just seemed natural that I would join Mark up in the booth. And so we became a team back then and stuck together for well over 30 years.
1988. I hate to tell you, I was 6 years old.
That means it's been a hell of a run.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any idea how many races you've called? I mean, or just fathom a guess at
I
it?
think around 275 Cup races, and then all of the corresponding, what was then Busch Series and now Xfinity Series races. Who knows how many Sportsman and Hooters Cup and Indy cars and everything else. Probably around 1,000 races total of everything that I've gotten to do.
It's insane.
Now we've asked this a few times for media members who've stopped by. You have been here for almost every iconic moment in NASCAR, I feel like, that we still talk about recently. What is your favorite or most memorable right now
That I called or
that you were a part of?
that I was a part of? Oh, there's been a lot. Jeff Gordon's first win was big. The one that I was able to jump on and call and I felt like was great for me was the first Roval when Truex, and I know that was late in my career, but Truex and Jimmy Johnson crashed there and Blaney totters along at 45 miles an hour, it felt like, and won the thing.
Yeah.
Because you knew it was headed toward that. And that was such an anticipated race. And a lot of people thought, why are we doing this? And for that to get paid off with that kind of finish, that's pretty great. And
That was a big one.
Tony Stewart's first win at the Brickyard was big because that's back when the Brickyard had 200,000 people. And you could almost feel the earth trembling, like with 5 to go, when the folks knew that he had a shot to win. And I thought, as he came off for 4, I said, "Don't mess this up. You got to get this right." That's always in the back of your mind. It's like gymnastics. If you don't stick the landing, nobody else remembers the other 199 laps.
Yeah, very true. So how do you practice for your job?
At this stage, I wasn't practicing, but like everybody else, you do minor series. It's no different than a racer. The first job I ever had was a go-kart track in Tyro, where all the RJR executives' kids raced go-karts on Saturday night. But if you can do 35 go-karts on a 8th-mile track, by the time you get up to the bigger cars with bigger numbers, it actually is a little bit easier.
It's almost slower.
It is. Yeah. It is. It slows down. They're bigger and they're easier to spot.
Talk about, and I know this goes to TJ, Brett, well, we spot all these years now, the paint schemes changing every week. I know it's tough for us at times, especially trying to find it in a moment, coming down pit road, where's this guy that's coming around me or whatnot. But just talk about the preparation that goes into it. First of all, just, knowing drivers, sponsors, make, model, whatever. And then also having to recognize the paint schemes.
When I first got into this, it was easy. Nobody's paint schemes ever changed. You memorize them at the start of the season and carry them all the way through. And then now the horrific day. It's nice that they do it. Is the Xfinity race at Charlotte in October when there are 14 pink cars out there.
Yeah.
And they're all identical, and it's nice that they do it. And it's breast cancer awareness, but really, you got to have that many of them. But that's a challenge. You have to go to practice now. You have to walk the garage, and sometimes I'll walk the garage and I'll take pictures the day before, and then I'll go back to the hotel room and sift through them. Okay, this is this guy, because it is confusing, especially in the Xfinity series, where they never hardly carry over from week to week.
That's a good point about Charlotte, because I remember the first year we really did it with Susan G. Coleman, and I said, can we either be like really bright pink or like Pepto-Bismol pink? Because there's so many variations, but I'm only looking for one car.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really both Charlotte races, because the October race is all pink. The May race, everybody's red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 15 red, white, and blue cars out there.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
It's awful. That you're right, Freddie. That may be the worst one, because they've all got American flags on them, or they're camo and American flags, which is really counterintuitive to have a camouflage car.
Yeah, there is nothing worse than a camo car.
We ran one. We ran it was like the gray. I don't know what they call it. Like urban camo. It was the Love's 34 car, but we ran the gray camo car at night at Daytona, and they sent me the scheme, and I was like, you guys know the point of camouflage, right? Like it's meant not to be seen. So yeah, I could feel your pain there. But yeah, I mean those Charlotte races, both of them, that May race, you look it down, and you're like, okay, there's literally 20 cars that have the same paint scheme.
I want to talk about Fast Talk for a second.
Yeah.
How did that show come about? And I want you to touch on, because we have a lot of old listeners and new listeners, right?
Yeah.
I want you to talk about Benny Parsons and what he did to help you in your career.
Benny did almost everything for me in my career. He counseled me. He told me things that I should do and people that I should know. And if he vouched for you, that was big. If Benny put his arm around you and said, you need to meet this person, then all of a sudden that opened up doors for you. But that was a syndicated talk show that we started. I used to help Ken Squire on MRN a little bit. Even when I was working for PRN, I would produce his show in the sense that I would line up all the guests for Kenley down in Daytona. And then finally I came back one time, and Humpy Wheeler asked me, he said, well, why don't we have a Daytona show? Good idea. Asked Benny, he was all in, and then that's when we started doing the Fast Talk shows at the Volusia Mall. And Benny was our host, and Mark Garrow co-hosted those. And then that led into being a weekly show on Monday nights. We went Monday nights because MRN had NASCAR Live, which they did on Tuesday nights. So it only made sense. We got to get the jump on this and try to do it. And Benny was the perfect guy because he was easy to work with. And it was funny, if you reached out to a team and said, we need you on to talk to Benny, how many of them said, yeah, we want to do that, because that's the clout that he had. But he was huge in my career. Helped me get on with the NASCAR Hot Pass on DirecTV, that experiment that went on for 2 years, which was sweet. You know what I mean?
That's when Muscles was running that thing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I got to meet a lot of people, and that broadened my base in the industry too.
Yeah.
I know this whole year's kind of been, obviously it's been Doug's last lap, and I'm sure all of it's been amazing, but just get put on some of the highlights you've gone through this year.
It started early when MRM was nice enough to ask me to come over and do a few laps of this year's Daytona 500. Because you guys know that. I mean, there's races, and then there's the Daytona 500. And they said, we'll bring you in for a segment. And I'm like, yeah. I had to stay an extra day to do it, but there's no way I was going home.
You're still pumped up about it.
Yeah, I am still pumped up about it. Because the guys made me feel so welcome. Jeff Striegel and Alex Hayden up in the booth, and Rusty was up there. And they didn't make it feel like I was intruding. They wanted me to come. I get goosebumps just thinking about it now. They wanted me to be successful and have a good time. And so that kicked it off, and that was huge. And then given the command at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's funny how something you talk for a living, but then they set you out there and you're by yourself, and they actually have a sign that you read that says, "Drivers, start your engines," because they said you can't imagine how many people get up here.
Lock up.
What am I saying? That was big. Green flag at Bristol was big. I got to do the invocation at Vegas. Drove the pace car at Charlotte for the 600, which is the most nervous you can be at 45 miles an hour. I know that's probably
I was going to say.
but
More than 77 out here.
yeah. It was, because they get in and we're going to put it on cruise control because they have to be going 45. And Ty Gibbs is running up and hitting me in the butt and getting up beside me. And I'm going like, I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted to drive the pace car and get onto pit road without being a story.
Good work.
Yeah.
I want to talk about drivers for a second because you've been around multiple generations of drivers. Right. And I think when you started, we had the blue-collar driver that was relatable, especially back then, to our fan base, whether he was farming during the week or hauling lumber or whatever. He was a blue-collar guy. He wasn't just a race car driver. Now these drivers, that's all they do all week. And I don't know that our fan base sometimes can say they're as relatable. What changed for you generation by generation to have to be able to be relatable to these guys? Because you also have stuck around. A lot of the media that used to be around every single week, whether it was Greensboro Paper or the Charlotte, Channel 9 News Network, like most news outlets haven't withstood time. You have.
No, and that kind of makes it a little bit unique in the sense that I've been there for the entire career of Jeff Gordon, of Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart. I saw them come in, saw them win their first races, and then saw them retire. So but you are right. The drivers that were in this when I first got here had other deals going on. It's like driving was part-time for them. Harry Gant, roofed houses. Cale Yarborough had a car dealership. Everybody had another deal going on, and they were a little bit more relatable to regular folk because they looked at racing not as just everything, and they weren't stars in their own mind. The guy that you worked with, Elliott Sadler, who I was probably close to Elliott as it was anybody. Regular guy in a lot of sense, and people got that. I feel like there's a little distance between the drivers we have now and the people that I first came in with, and I'm not dissing on anybody. No. It's just a different world, and I can point back. That changed with Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon came in, ushered in a whole new generation of thought, of branding. Nobody had thought about your brand up until then. Maybe the King did because he had. He called it his silhouette, he couldn't say that word. But Gordon changed the perception, I feel like, of drivers moving forward. Everybody wanted to be a little bit more like him.
Well, with that said, I think that's a good point. I did not want to be like you two this weekend with a bee swarming around your heads.
I have never. I was just telling you about before the show. And I don't think, like I said, I believe it or not, I'm not a bee expert. I don't know what, but
it's funny. I took you as a bee expert, Freddie.
I told Bubba yesterday, I think they thought I was Winnie the Pooh because they were all surrounding me, but they thought I had honey in my pocket.
That's probably more like it.
But I don't think.
We just got your Halloween outfit.
I don't think that they were going to sting anybody. I don't know. Like they were like them kind of like fuzzy looking bees. I don't know what they called.
Can you describe them a little bit
They were
better?
fuzzy. They were fuzzy bees.
They were.
But there was thousands of them.
They had stingers, man. They had stingers.
They did. I don't know, but I don't think anybody got stung. Thankfully. But they were. There's a slanted roof in front of us. If you see the clips, I'm sure that I think they showed us all on TV yesterday. There's a slanted roof in front of us, and at some point in that race, it was like maybe the second stage. I guess it was. They just started coming out from underneath that roof.
Yeah.
And I'm talking. And the funny thing was, we're like, you've heard drivers say, I'm in a hornet's nest, or, I'm in, so we're in a hornet's nest on the racetrack. Bubba's like fighting for his life. There's guys all around us. And this is going on. I'm getting pelted in the face with hundreds of bees. And I'm like, Booty, I'm getting attacked by I said, we're getting attacked by a swarm of bees. And Booty's like, yeah, I know. Just tell him to keep his entry speed up. I'm like, no, for real. I'm literally getting attacked by bees up here.
What was it going to take for that to bring out a caution? Like for y'all all to just lay down?
I don't know, man. I was worried about it because if they did start stinging, like there was so many of them, we were all in trouble.
And I mean, if you were allergic to a bee, I would have probably ran. I don't think I am. I've been stung before and not had a problem. But if you were like at Brandon McReynolds, I think maybe allergic because when we were at Darlington, we had those bees. He gets pretty sketched out. If he was down there, he would have just jumped off the roof. I think. Probably.
I don't know if I've ever even seen a bee at Homestead, and then I saw thousands of them. Like they just.
Sounds like somebody was pranking you guys.
It looked like
that's what it felt like.
You know, they do that thing at the end of a sprint car race at the car store where they blow the confetti with a leaf blower. That's what it looked like with the bees coming out from underneath the edge of the roof there. And I don't know if we got bit by all these little bugs in Kansas this year. Chicagoland Speedway, we used to have those Japanese beetles and stuff. I remember they used to put them bags up there and stuff, and I feel that made it worse because it attracted them. But man, I've never. There's been some bees at some tracks like Darlington and stuff, but never have I.
Like the video on TV did it absolutely no justice.
No.
And the really funny thing was, Ken, we have the spotter's best friend Ken up there. He comes to every race. He sits up there and hangs out with us. Takes great care. It's a lot of guys on the roof there.
Shares his nuts with everybody before the race.
And
he takes people to lunch at the Speedway Club near Charlotte.
I mean, just a great guy. So the bees finally
flies TJ around.
The bees. The bees weren't there. They were only on really half the roof. Luckily, it was the half I was standing on, and they weren't there long. I'd say probably 30 laps, and they just went back to wherever the hell they came from.
It was like 10, 15 minutes.
Right after they leave, here comes, how Homestead puts out the trays of like sweets, like brownies and cookies. Here comes Ken with the treats, and I'm like, get away from me, because I don't want the things to come back.
I was in. We must have been battling around that time because Matt was giving me some information for Brad, and I'm like, Matt, you're gonna have to hang on a minute here. I mean,
I literally couldn't spot.
I didn't tell him. I said, Matt, I got an issue. I'll tell you about it later.
We were like. Somebody was sliding. I think it was Briscoe was running that crazy line. He was running like sliding up.
He drives in and almost doors somebody.
I'm like, what? I can't even spot. Like I'm like literally running down the roof trying to find a spot where we're not getting attacked.
Xfinity Series, we beat the drum on here a lot of times, Doug, that it's a lot of times the best racing of the weekend. Was the Cup Series better this weekend?
Yeah,
it was.
Yes,
best race of the weekend, which we need.
Yeah.
Listen, Gluck tweeted last night that was the best playoff race there's ever been, and it's hard to argue.
It is 8%, I think, at the moment of people saying it wasn't a good race, and I would love to hear what they think.
It's something about
what do you want if that's not a good race?
I don't know.
The mile and a halves in this car are just really good. I mean, it's all the mile and a half stuff, man. Like it's the Charlotte, the 600s, like that's a great race. Anything, I don't know, these guys, and I don't know if TV shows it, but these guys have to be so accurate and precise with where they drive and where they put the cars and how much throttle they carry and stuff. These guys are really impressive with what they can do at a mile and a half in these cars.
That's a good point for a segue to Doug here, and then we'll kick this show off, Doug, and quit get you off the hot seat.
I'm fine.
When a race is great, it's easy for you to call it.
Absolutely.
When a race gets strung out at a Pocono or no matter where you are, it can be a challenge. Same for spotters, because if we're on top of each other, we're wide awake. Once we get kind of Z'd out, we can snooze off, lose our car, et cetera. How do you and you get your guys always seem to keep it exciting?
You got to go back in the pack. I mean, the year that Truex led like all four laps of the 600, there's not a lot of excitement at the front. And Mark and I and the rest of the team are out. Where is there something going on? Now, sometimes there's not. And there's things you can listen for. If you ever hear the phrase, well, they're really strung out, that means they're really strung out. We got nothing for you. And you're hoping for something to develop. At that time, you're cheering for caution to give you a storyline. But our biggest thing is to go back. I mean, if we have to go back to 13th, that's where we'll go to find the battle. But we owe that to the listener, because you can't ever just say, well, this thing's over.
I love that, and I also love full field rundowns.
Yes.
That's, just growing up in the era I grew up in, on TV and on your broadcast, I love when you did it, when Barney Hall did it. Like, it's one of my favorite moments.
It's giving the score. If I tune into a football game, I want score, down, distance. Everything else is superfluous. I don't really care about rushing yards, passing yards, score, down, distance. The full field rundown's not sexy, but 1 through 36 tells you where everything is going on, and that's key to what we do.
Agreed.
And you mentioned, practicing, and especially for radio where people who are driving can't necessarily see the race that's going on. I mean, for a race such as yesterday, that there was just a ton. How do you even clearly communicate for people who are listening and not able to see the race?
I'm a little envious of the MRN guys getting to call that, because when you have 3 different leaders in the last 2 laps, that's pretty good stuff. That's religious.
There's
right
action
there. But Casey, there's a philosophy we have, and we joke all the time about being in the transportation business. But our number one job is radio people, whether it's us, MRN, any radio commentators out there doing live play-by-play, is to transport. We're in the transportation business. If you're driving down 77, probably not very fast, but if you know, and you're listening, we want to put you at Charlotte Motor Speedway or at Bristol or Texas. And if we can mentally transport you to where we are, and in your mind's eye you can see it, then we've done our job. Then everything else on top of that is gravy. But if we can get you to the racetrack, then we've won. And I feel like we do a pretty good job of that.
Absolutely.
I would say so. Well, we have plenty to talk about following this past weekend's race with Spot On, Spot Off. In the final lap of yesterday's race, Ryan Blaney left the top lane open, allowing Tyler Reddick to pass him on the outside, coming to the checkered flag. Spot on, spot off, TJ.
Spot off for Blaney. I think you got to cover the top there, because if there's one line that Tyler Reddick knows, it's the wall. And I think if you run the top and he dives to the middle, yeah, he probably clears you, but you can play offense after that, because he has to come up. He's going to come up the track because he has to clear you. So he has to overdrive the entry to do that, and I think that gives you a counter move to pass him back. But if you leave the top open, I mean, that's just, a guy like you, how fast Reddick got through 1 and 2. I mean, you give him the wall in 3 and 4, I think, and Tyler was really fast all day too. So I think the best defensive move there is to take the wall away.
Yeah, it's hard. I almost give Tyler more credit than I want to fault Ryan. I think if Ryan had to do it over, he's going to want to put it on the fence and make Tyler. But Tyler carried so much speed into 3 that it almost looked like it was indefensible for Blaney. And Blaney had just passed Denny running the bottom in the middle in 3 and 4, So I think you're in a situation where, Denny's right there also. He could just dive in the bottom and make something happen too. So I think he tried to run like a kind of defensive line of both lanes, and it just didn't work out for him. I think 2 things, happened there. Didn't get a great restart. I can't remember who's restarted 3rd, but they split him on the bottom, and that kind of hurt his start.
Chase, I think.
Was it Chase? They split to the bottom of 3 wide, so that kind of affected his entry to 1. And then he kind of missed the bottom he didn't really get to the bottom and cover the line like he wanted to in 1 and 2. And Reddick nailed the line in 1 and 2 on the bottom and cleared Denny, got that decent run down the backstretch, and then the speed that Tyler carried into 3 on the fence it looked like Denny Ryan just let him go. I mean, it was incredible, the move that he made there.
To Freddie's defense here, there is times in the race where your guy's moving around trying to find speed, and you don't know how fast another line is until another guy shows up and runs it, because we surprised a few people running the fence too. They'd be running down a lane, and Brad would shoot in there and go around the outside of him in 3 and 4, and then they're like, oh, I do need to be up there. And the same thing happened to us. He's moving around. We think we're in the fast lane, and somebody goes around the outside of us.
Doug?
Spot on for Tyler. It looked like he hit the nitrous in 3. I mean, really, it was, to Freddie, to your point, it looked almost like Blaney was nailed to the racetrack, and he just blows around him. And obviously, he knew he could carry that speed. Blaney could have gone up the track, but I'm going to go the positive way for Tyler.
I'm watching this restart, and the second that Ryan Blaney had to turn right getting into 1, I thought his day was done. And when Tyler lost the lead, I thought his day was done. And when it all ended up, here these 2 guys are racing for the lead. I think this will go down, if Ryan Blaney doesn't win Martinsville, as the worst decision of his career. And I think hindsight's always 20/20. At the moment in time, he's probably thinking, like you said, I had a good 1 and 2. I have 5 lap fresher tires. I'm going to beat this guy. But in looking back at it, he's going to kick himself in the ass the rest of this winter if he doesn't win this weekend, saying this was the worst decision I've ever made. I mean, it goes back to that and when Austin Cindric beat him in the Daytona 500. I just think those are moments where you go, I'd like to have that one back. But to your point, to all y'all's point, in the old car, you couldn't drive into 3 like that. You had to feather it in there, get it set. And when he went in there that fast, I literally screamed out loud to Roy, my stepdad, sitting beside of me. I was like, now he's just got to keep it off the wall. And somehow or another, he did. It's one of the best moves in NASCAR history.
Yeah, and on top of that move, the call by Billy Scott, I felt like coming into this race, Tyler, I forget how many points down he was. It wasn't a ton, but this felt like a must-win for Tyler just because I don't think he was going to be able to point his way in at Martinsville. He has struggles there at times, and I felt like this is it. Like if he's got to win this race, and the way that race is playing out, he wasn't going to just go on raw speed and beat the 12 and the 5 or up there leading. And Billy makes this Hail Mary call. They're hoping to get a caution. They don't get a caution. Billy actually makes the smart call. I assume this was in the thought process of they pit probably, 3 or 4 laps before they were going to run out of fuel to come out right behind the leaders so that Tyler can quickly unlap himself. He gets he gets 1 lap later. He unlaps himself and the yellow comes out with the leaders getting together. And now they're in the catbird seat of where they're probably not ideal, like where it worked out perfect for them, but they wanted a caution before that. But then he's sitting there and like to your point, like you don't see guys go on older tires, whether it was 2, 3 green flag laps, whatever it is, you don't see them go back and pass somebody on like fresh rubber.
No.
And Tyler was third at taking the white flag. He goes in 1 and 2, passes Denny, clears Denny, and then comes out the backstretch and that makes that move into 3. It's just, I felt like it was a must win, and Tyler drove those last, whatever it was, 6, 7 laps like it was a must win and made it happen. And I give more credit to him than anything else.
And Casey, that caution came about because of hung money.
Spot on, spot off. Kyle Larson made an aggressive high-risk move for the lead with 11 laps to go and spun out. Freddie.
Man, this we talk about on here all the time. Brett likes to say the term like they ran out of talent, and the reason why they run out of talent is they trust their talent too much. It's not like they're just not talented; they just put too much faith in it. And this is Kyle Larson was going to make this move 10 times out of 10. Blaney left him a little bit of hole. The 3 car did nothing wrong. The 3 car put himself on the fence, stayed on the fence, and there was room for a car to get in there. And it looked to me like Kyle kind of got a little bit too low on entry.
For sure, a little too left.
Like just a little too left and got on. And that's a tricky aero spot. We've seen it where that was. He lost it and hit the wall hard, I think Atlanta. And it's just, it's just going for it, and at that point, that's, it's hard to another guy, maybe Martinsville's not their strongest track. So now, like, if I can just get this, because if he gets to the wall, if he gets clear of the 3 and can get to the wall there, I think Kyle Larson wins the race. I thought he was faster than Ryan, but it was really tough to pass, especially if Ryan could take that top lane away from him. And he was, people are like, oh, he should have waited. No, he was back there for 10, 15 laps and couldn't get a pass done. That he sees that opening, and listen, Kyle Larson's going to go for that opening, like I said, 10 times out of 10. And unfortunately, this time it didn't work out for him. But listen, and I'll let you guys go and talk about that first. Go ahead.
I was in shock. Because he is so good at car control, and he goes in there even when it got a little bit sideways. I thought he'll save this and drive on up there and make a race out of it. So that's the 1 time out of 99 that it doesn't work for him. But that really surprised me, because when it comes to car control, I think he's the best in the biz.
I'm spot on for the attempt, and once again, Ryan Blaney leaving that right rear open, and as spotters, we preach, don't leave your right rear open. And he left it open there, and the hole was certainly big enough. I thought it was, Austin Dillon after the race was like, I didn't even know Kyle Larson was coming. But he made it happen that fast, because Austin Dillon's obviously got a great spotter, very aware of what's going on. I'm spot on for him sticking it in there. I'm even more spot on for how well he handled himself in post-race, because he potentially gave away his shot at the championship too. And when you look at, Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, that's places where he runs well, Hendrick runs well. To not have him in the final 4, wow, that is not something that I had on my bingo card. So it's hard to be spot off for a guy that's doing all he can, but like Freddie said, it's like those with the most talent run out of talent the most, and that's where we were.
Hit the wall of lack of talent there for just a nanosecond. And I also think if he flashes back to May and those few points that they left on the table when he didn't get in the Coke 600, he'd like to have him back. What's he, -7?
Yeah.
He could use those now.
Absolutely. And you know, he spins out and doesn't, I mean, I don't even know if he spun all the way out. I think he got sideways, ended up on the apron, blends back in third place. So now his race is not over. He's running third. But I saw everybody like, if he doesn't take that chance, now he's not 7 out. He's, no, that didn't cost him anything. When he came down pit road, and I looked like he stalled the car, maybe, I don't know, leaving, and that's where he lost all the positions, and ended up back where he ended up, and that's why he's 7 out now versus much closer or probably inside the playoff cut line now. But that was the mistake. The pit road was the mistake. The on the racetrack, I think, was just, hey, I'm going for it, and hopefully it pays off. If it's one of them moves, I don't think it's a Hail Mary move, but if it works, he wins the race.
Dirt racers have that extra go for it in them for whatever reason.
And you see in a dirt race, I know TJ watches a bunch of them.
That's a move they would make.
That's how you win dirt races is with lap traffic. They always say you want to be the second guy in lap traffic because in dirt racing, there's no mirrors, no spotters. So the guy that's getting lapped doesn't know where the leader's running. So the leader has to kind of adjust to him. And now you can, as a second place guy, you can see this is where I'm going to make up my ground. And that's how a dirt racer wins a race. And he took a shot at it.
Yeah, I'm spot on for the move too. These cars, you don't see it, but like my driver, he was loose in, but you can't see the loose end. They just back the corner up so much you can't tell. With the old car, sometimes you can see guys get a lot looser than you can now. These cars are so they're on edge already, and if you don't get to see the guy drive it sideways anymore. If they get sideways, they're snapping. And there's no driving it sideways. And I think Kyle makes this move every single time, and I'm not so sure he doesn't make it stick. Half the time or maybe more. This is a move that he made a similar move without the lap car there on Busher at Kansas. So. I mean, good race, great setup. That's kind of, catching lap traffic and stuff at a track like this creates some scenarios. It's a great place for it and great race. And, it's fun to watch guys like Kyle make that move because not everyone's going to try to make that move. And there wasn't probably more than a car length there and he still shot in there and tried to make it happen. So you got to respect that.
Continuing on, after the race, when asked if he was happy for his driver, Tyler Reddick, locking into the championship 4, Denny Hamlin said, mentally, you can't put yourself in that place quite yet. Still soaking in the driver's side of it. Spot on, spot off, Doug.
Spot on for his assessment. I think he is the proverbial rock and hard place. You want your team to be successful. You want the business model to work. But I actually think at his core, he's still a race car driver first, trying to win that NASCAR championship. He's a man of two countries, but spot on in the sense that I think he realizes that he's a man of two countries.
I love Doug's answer, and I'm giving Denny a Grammy because I think on Thursday when he leaves for the racetrack, he's like, I want to win the race. I want Tyler Reddick to win the race.
Give him a Grammy or
an
Oscar?
I want Bubba Wallace to win the race.
I'm a little confused too.
I want him to win some kind of acting award because intrinsically,
that's
Grammy's
not
music.
a Grammy.
Well,
if he can sing, we're
he can
on
probably
it.
rap.
seen him
Denny can do it all. Denny's great. In this situation, he's full of intrinsically, his insides are up. They're suing NASCAR.
Yeah.
They won a race. They're locked into the Final Four. They're only 4 years old.
I know.
Somebody made a comment. They don't deserve to sue NASCAR. A member of the media. They don't deserve to sue NASCAR. They haven't been around here long enough. Well, they got a seat at the Final Four. Does that give them the right to have a seat now? So this is exactly what NASCAR needs. Drama, a guy locked in that a lot of people said they're going to be tough on this team in tech. No, they're not. The integrity of the sport is still going to stick. So I'm spot on for Denny literally winning what does he need to win?
An Oscar.
An Oscar.
Yeah, Denny's great, it's such a hard spot to be put in that get to ask that question in that moment where you just lost the race. You're leading with 2 to go, and he didn't get a great run off of 4, kind of missed the top a little bit, and then that opened the door for Blaney to get a good run through 1 and 2 and get to him, and so he lost the race in that moment, and then you're still right there, and then obviously you get to see Tyler win. But, I mean, what a question to ask a guy, right? Like, hey, how about your guy winning? And you're like, I just lost. And listen, I don't. Denny's great, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that already. And I hope you still like me after this. But there's just been something off this whole playoff.
You're fired
with Denny and that team. And it really started.
He said it though.
You can tell Freddie's contract's done.
It started at Atlanta. That's where it started. And like if you don't have that killer instinct mindset throughout the whole playoff, it just seems like that Atlanta got the ball rolling in a negative direction. Or maybe it was like TJ says, it's when he started talking about
Before
spotters.
you kick to TJ, though, Gapehart said there's no such thing as momentum in the playoffs. Look at the 22 car. Like they're locked into the Final Four, and obviously they didn't have any, quote, momentum.
I disagree with that. I mean, I know that it's an illusion probably, but it seems like it comes true pretty often. The 12 had some pretty decent momentum last year.
Yeah, there's two sides. There's also the luck. I mean, I think the 22 they played their cards. They tried to hit a home run, and they did, and it worked. And they're good at doing that. So we've talked about that last week. So that's nothing new. Joey's got what, 4 wins this year?
Three
wins this year. I mean,
and listen,
they're at perfect times.
And then listen, a lot of stuff goes on inside the race that a lot of people might not recognize. Penske as a whole is one of the best at taking advantage of situations. And yesterday they did a really good job on the last pit stop. Ryan was leading. We hadn't cycled all the way back through, and the 2 and the 22 were the second and third cars in line. And we get ready to come to pit road, and what do? You can't pass cars to come to pit road unless you're a certain driver. But
gaps.
They created a big gap for Ryan to get on pit road with, I say a big gap. It was probably 5-6 car lengths, but that's plenty. I mean, that's plenty for them to just have a decent pit stop and get off first. And that's little things in race that they do really well to work as a team and accelerate everybody.
Did you hear the part yesterday where they said we're not teammates anymore?
Yes, I did. I found that interesting.
Who did?
The guy who spots for Chase Elliott came over the radio and said, because there were Hendrick cars running behind him, and he said, they're not our teammates anymore.
I think it was Larson trying to catch him.
Yeah.
I mean,
TJ said,
Interesting.
So next week, will they not be teammates either when they're all going for that championship 4?
I needed Larson as a teammate at Talladega. I'll tell you that.
During Saturday's Truck Series race, Connor Jones was parked by NASCAR for 2 laps for reckless driving after turning Matt Mills in the wall. Mills remains hospitalized for smoke inhalation suffered during the crash. I'm afraid to go to Freddie first, so spot on, spot off, TJ.
I'm spot off for this.
TJ, what truck do you spot again?
The one that ended. The one that went out in flames.
I can't believe you don't like it.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like it either way.
Yeah.
So This almost happened earlier in the race too. Connor sent the 91 down into the corner and did the same thing. He didn't hit him quite as hard, but he got mad at something, and there was nothing that led up to this. We had run him down maybe 2 times already and passed him. We were good in the long run, and we ran him down. We cleared him by 4 or 5 car lengths out of turn 4. And at this point, in a situation like that, if you keep racing each other hard, it just brings everybody else to you. And we came from a long way back to go and pass him. Then he does a slide job through 1 and 2. We get a big run off the high side. We go to turn to the bottom, and he's trying to block. And they bump a little bit, and there's no issues. Everybody just keeps on going. Then he gets in line behind Matt and just wrecks him. So this isn't the first time a move's been pulled like this. I think he's been parked at North Wilkesboro. I think he's been parked or had some punishment in a Cars Tour race this year as well.
When is the last time a Truck Series official penalized a truck?
Well, they did it to Lane Riggs this year.
Yeah, Lane got, that was Nashville.
And it helped.
Last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were up and down, screaming, jumping up and down on the show about officiating has to come in at some point. This can't be the Carson Hocelar series back then.
And I don't feel like 2 laps is enough, to be honest with you. When I was working with Tyler Reddick, he had a moment similar to this at Pocono, and he got into somebody kind of put him in the wall off the tunnel turn, and when that guy got back to him, he hooked him out of the tunnel turn, and then they put him on the truck. They parked Tyler. And I think, 2 laps, you can... Yeah, it's bad, but you can recover from that and come back. I don't think they even think twice about it, because if you come back from that and you finish on a lead lap and you gain some spots back, that's just everything worked out okay then still. You can continue to do it. I think there needs to be way more than that.
I mean, I'm never spot on for somebody intentionally wrecking somebody, but I mean, the reality is, unfortunately for Matt, he inhaled a bunch of smoke. You know, the good news is it's not from impact. It sounds like he's going to be fine. Obviously, oxygen issues have been around for as long as I've been in this sport. It used to be back in the day. I mean, Rick Massa and those guys, they suffered serious health consequences because of the amount of carbon monoxide they were inhaling during these races.
Still hurts him.
Yeah, I remember Elliott and Tony Stewart were kind of on the front end side of after the race. Breathing oxygen. Tony would actually go get in a chamber to get the oxygen levels back. So it's obviously a serious injury, but I don't think Connor Jones meant to put him in a hospital. I think that's probably being, it just makes it worse. But I applaud NASCAR for stepping in immediately and making that call, because you can't. The problem is if you let it go on there, then it happens in Xfinity, then it happens in Cup, and it just keeps snowballing.
I'm going to say spot off in the sense that I'm going to agree with TJ. I don't think the penalty was severe enough. I don't know what that is. Is that 10 laps? Is that sitting down for the race? If you really want to deliver the message that this is unacceptable, you can't do that, then you park him. And you don't just park him. You park the sponsor. You park the whole team. And he can't get away from that ever. So spot off, and I think the penalty, he got off light.
For me, and it's come up on the show before with Connor Jones, and for me, he's the exception that proves the rule. We get these conversations when you see a kid like Connor Zilic come up that NASCAR needs to drop the minimum age. There's talented race car drivers, and we should drop the minimum age to 16, 17, whatever they want to say, because you have those outliers like Zilic. For me, Jones is the exception that proves the rule in the fact that he's a talented race car driver. He's a race-winning race car driver. He wins Cars Tour races. That takes a lot of talent. He is not mentally prepared to be racing in the Truck Series right now. And you could hear that in his meltdown on the radio that he went off for, I don't even know, 2 laps, where Joel's got his headset off, just like, listen to this. But, and it's obvious to me that the people around him don't hold him accountable for his actions, because he has that ridiculous meltdown on the radio, just MFing Matt Mills, who I don't think anybody's ever had a problem with. Then he gets out of the truck, makes very smug remarks to some of the comments for some of the media people that are there. Like, says something to, like, it seemed like his PR guy, like, think I should talk to them, or am I going to say something stupid? It's just very smug. Then the media members, credited media members, Jordan, Bob, some other folks standing outside of his hauler waiting for a comment. He tries to slip out the side door and get out of there so he doesn't have to talk to them. And then you commission a PR firm to put out a statement for you on your behalf because you're too chicken to give your own comment. Listen, it's just an awful look. And this kid.
Sounds like he needed a good old fashioned ass whooping.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, if he keeps driving the way he's going to get one. I've seen multiple times, they've gotten, there's been fights after late model races and whatnot. And it's just, let
Austin Hill get a hold of him. That'll fix it.
Yeah. We talked about Hocevar. You brought him up on here, and Hocevar did a lot of dumb shit in his truck days, but nothing. This kid's 1,000 times worse, in my opinion. And I don't know, you don't follow a lot of late models, and I don't know how much TJ watches, but every time I see this kid race, he does something stupid.
Yeah.
Like I feel, I mean, I hate it because he is talented. It's not like he's just, I don't want to speak. I don't even mention his name, but we've seen guys come out that just do dumb and they're not good. They suck and they just do dumb all the time. This kid isn't that. He's a talented race car driver, but somebody needs to get a hold of him and just like, hey, stop it. You make an ass of yourself. To Doug's point, you make an ass of your sponsors. I don't know if maybe, I don't know who his sponsors are, if it's a company or maybe it's his family. I don't know that for sure, but somebody around this kid needs to get a hold of him and just tell him to stop. Because to your point, TJ, I'm spotting for Dawson Sutton. We're running, 20th, 25th, somewhere in there. We come to like 5 laps to go to the stage. Dawson catches him. We're going underneath him, and he just hangs a left, runs Dawson all the way to the grass on the backstretch. Then he's running into us, and I'm like, Joel, what is this kid doing? Like, so I just wish somebody could get a hold of him and just tell him to stop. Like, just go out there and race. I don't know if you get some wires crossed and you get to racing hard, and all of a sudden he just starts running into people. And this deal with Matt, it wasn't like he was just up his ass and he came from 2 cars back to make sure he could drive to his bumper and hit him as hard as he could. So that's unacceptable. That might fly at Hickory. You can't do that at Homestead. Somebody's going to get hurt. And now, it's for smoke inhalation, but this kid's been in the hospital for 3 days now. So, it's unacceptable. And to TJ's point, the penalty's not enough. And they're not going, from what I understand, there's not going to be any more penalties coming from this. So that's not enough in my opinion.
Yeah. You can buy fast race cars, but you can't buy the brains to do. You can't buy you can't buy like the mental part of it.
Well, Carson Hocevar said the defining moment in his career was when Dale Jr. sat him down and said, "You're not going to wreck my race cars, are you?" When he came over here to drive. So he just needs that moment. If you got talent, I mean, listen, Jeff Gordon tore up 13 cars his rookie year, but somebody reeled him in. If he's got the speed, somebody mentally's got to reel him in, and if he can't be reeled in, he won't stick around.
Did you hear the meltdown?
I heard some of it. And I talked to Joel that night.
I don't understand how you could melt down over something so minor. Like there wasn't I can't even how do you melt down over that? When you get that angry, you're not focused in the race car. And this is in most of the short track stuff that I've seen, when he gets to beating and banging in the car store stuff, he just forgets about racing and just all he cares about is wrecking with that guy or taking that guy out. I mean, maybe Freddie has probably witnessed it. When he gets beaten and banging with somebody, he loses complete focus on his race. And all his goal becomes is to make sure that guy doesn't finish or doesn't beat him or something. And if he's got enough speed to win races, obviously. So
there's a way to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to fix the mental part of it.
Didn't he wreck you at Phoenix last year? Was that your guy? Who'd you spot Ford trucks last year?
I think for some reason,
was it Drew? Remember?
He did. Yeah, in turn three
one,
right
yeah,
there.
three,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right in front of us.
Will he ever grow out of this? Will he mature?
Well, Doug, you've been around long enough to see this. It's a lot of times it's more so the people around you. Right. If it's the family, if they're just telling you, if somebody, he has to answer for that yesterday. You can't have that melted on the radio. You can't duck every reporter. You can't get out and say, when you get out of the truck and kind of have a half-ass smile and then come out an hour later with I'm really sorry that happened. No, you're not. You're not. So I know you've been around. How does that get reined in from?
The statement called me too, Doug, off guard when he said, "I hadn't talked to Matt yet, but I'm really sorry."
Yeah. Well, that's disingenuous. I mean, that's just bogus.
Well, the problem is
it's not real.
The problem is, I know this for a fact. He had nothing to do with that statement. That's farmed out to a PR firm that that they're paying to help him with social media and whatnot. So that's another issue alone. They're. It's just everything about that was wrong. And listen, if you're truly sorry, then you come out this week, in front of a video, and you're talking about it.
If you're truly sorry, you go to the hospital before you put the statement out. You go see the guy.
Yeah,
Call it. Text
you
it.
got to speak to his character at this point now. And as you pointed out a moment ago, this is not Hickory. This is not Rougemont. This is the big leagues, and a certain standard is expected. And maybe he's not capable of that.
It's possible. So far, that's what he's shown.
Back to Sunday's race. Joey Logano and Tyler Reddick are now locked into the championship 4 at Phoenix. Who are your other two picks to make the championship 4? Brett.
It's tight, Doug. I'm sitting here looking at it. I think Christopher Bell's in a pretty good spot points-wise. I don't think he has to win. I think that, in the right scenario, Kyle Larson, William Byron, potentially even Denny Hamlin, if he were to go out and win the first two stages, could point their way in. But I'm going to go with Christopher Bell's in, and I'm sorry, but Kyle Larson, he's going to drive the wheels off this thing.
So 2 funny things I was looking up this morning to see stats-wise what everybody did. You know how many points Christopher Bell scored in the spring? 2. Finished 35th. I can't remember. I have to go back and see what happened. I'm sure he had damage and got wrecked or whatnot. But so it's possible. It's possible. And then the other stat that really blew me away, we talked about how easy it is to, or how, it's difficult. People were talking about how difficult it is to make up points because these guys are going to be racing on top of each other. You saw all day yesterday, the top 7 in points were the top 7 in the race. And they just ran up there all day long. But stage points are a big difference. And the first race this year, Byron wins the race. And Kyle Larson finishes second, and Kyle Larson scored 7 more points than William Byron. So, I mean, they finished 1 spot apart, first and second. Now, obviously, if Byron wins the race, he's in. But they finished 1 spot apart. Byron beat him, and Larson made up the 7 points that he needs this week. So it's gonna be tight. Blaney won this race last year. Trace was strong.
All right, TJ, who you picking?
Yeah, we're just gonna keep going on and on.
You're supposed to tell us who's gonna make it.
I was telling you stats to tell
Doug's got to leave at 11.
Reddick, Logano, Bell, Blaney.
Blaney's going to win Martinsville.
Blaney's going to win Martinsville. Blaney's going to win Martinsville. Blaney's going to win Martinsville. Blaney's going to win Martinsville. Blaney's going to win Martinsville. Blaney's going to win Martinsville. Blaney's going to win Martinsville. I think he's been the fastest car there for the last probably almost year and a half, maybe 2 years. He's gotten really good there. And I mean, he runs the bottom there like no one else right now. He's so good at wrapping the curb, and he never makes a mistake. I've watched a lot of his video there lately, and he's going to be really good there. I think he can win the race. And then to me, it's going to come down to who can outpoint each other between Bell and Larson and them. And I think Bell just has a little bit too much of a buffer to give up. And if he goes and just has a quiet, smart race, that car should have enough speed to run around the top 10, straight up. And if he does that, he's going to point his way in. So I think Blaney and Bell transfer.
I'm going to play the pad hand here. I think the 4 that are above the cut line stay there. And if you'd asked me that a month ago, I said Kyle Larson's a lock. But something's missing there. I don't know if it's mojo, momentum that you guys were talking about a moment ago. I just don't sense it. Things are happening uncharacteristically for the 5 car that never happened before. And I think William Byron will be good enough to sneak in. And I'm going to agree with you, TJ. I think Bell's operating on a different plane right now. He may be my favorite to win the whole thing, but I think the 4 that are above the cut line stay there.
Interesting. Now, looking at Martinsville and the fact that you can easily make a mistake and have a penalty, get, I think, 2 laps on average. If you have a penalty, be 2 laps down. Of those drivers who have that shot, I mean, which one makes the most mistakes all year, such as a speeding penalty and is out?
I mean, I don't think anybody. I mean,
Denny.
I was trying to not say the name, but
Denny really. I don't think he's made many mistakes this year. Those. I know it seems like a lot, but
I mean, if you have 2, 3 a year, that's a lot for these guys now, though.
I'll tell you the race that I'm looking forward to this week. The Austin Hill win this week makes that Xfinity race a bloodbath.
Dominating win.
I mean, he could run the bottom. Listen, Austin Hill's always been pretty good at Homestead, especially running the bottom. And for a racetrack that everybody talks about, you guys got to get on the fence and rip the fence. He could run wherever the hell he wanted on Saturday. But that win sets up a bloodbath for this weekend because there's 4 guys that need to win now.
I'm so glad I'm not spotting that Xfinity race because it's going to be bad.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
At least Austin won't have to fight anybody after this one because he's locked in.
We'll move on to Reaction Theater when we come back from the break.
Now it's time for our favorite segment, Reaction Theater, where it's your turn to be heard. Reaction Theater is brought to you every week by Consumer Cellular.
Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as leading carriers, but with plans as low as $20 a month.
If you're paying too much for wireless service, pump the brakes and switch to Consumer Cellular. They offer big wireless coverage without the big wireless costs.
And now, once you turn 50, you can get 2 lines of unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 each. That's $60 a month.
So why keep spending more than you have to? Be a winner with Consumer Cellular and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
This rate plan requires 2 lines of service, age verification, and credit approval, subject to system area limits, taxes, and fees apply.
Hey, Siri, could you tell Kyle Larson to get for me? 23-11's in the championship 4, baby. Hate that Denny didn't get it done, but I'm super happy that Reddick got in there and we got 2 Toyotas in the 4. Ford. Let's go. Holla. My God, what a race. Could you imagine if once Jim France has to hand Tyler Reddick and Michael Jordan the trophy? Oh, that would be so worth it just to see Reddick with the title.
I hope the first guy didn't jinx Bell because
The first guy said love Kyle Larson. That's why Reddick won.
Yeah, no. He said there's 2 Toyotas in the playoffs, and right now there's only 1 in the Final 4, I should say. So hopefully he didn't just jinx Bell for this weekend. But other than that, I just hope we run good in the next 2 races.
Damn it! I thought the 12 had it. Oh, I thought the 12 had it.
Oh,
Son of
God.
a mother. I hope every one of y'all asses got bee stung. I swear to God. All right. Now that my wife, my son, his girlfriend, my dog all think I'm insane because of the mind-boggling meltdown I just had, why in the flying would you not cover the top? It's only Tyler Reddick. He's not good up there or anything. It's just who was it that made the decision? Was it the spotter? Was it Blaney himself? Who the decided not to cover the top? Even if you're remotely slower up there, disturb the air, dude.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
That was heartfelt.
Y'all,
Wait till they get to the toasters.
wait till they start throwing the toasters in the tub here in a minute.
Kyle Larson, my God, somebody take that boy to the emergency room because he's going to need some ibuprofen for stepping on his picker again. Ow!
Boy, if I was Kyle Larson, I'd cut that thing off so I'd stop stepping on it.
You know, it's very difficult to be a Hung Money fan. What the Stop stepping on your
Oh, Hung Money. Oh, man. Maybe that's the problem.
Austin Dillon, that dumb son of a 15 laps to go, and you're racing for damn 30th or 25th, whatever the he normally is. Can't pull out of the way for the leaders, racing for the damn win. I don't like the Fords, but the Fords are going to win the championship because they work together. They help each other. Chevrolets find a way to each other no matter what, no matter who it is, the Hendrick squad, no matter who the it is. Austin Dillon, you dumb son of a get the out of the way, you nepotism.
You don't think he was
Doug,
trying to...
Can we please hire this guy as a pit reporter next year?
No, because I can only use every other word.
He'll fit right in.
No.
Good Lord. You don't think the 3 was helping the 5 right there a little bit? I mean, I'm not saying he was doing it on purpose, but that was enabling.
Yeah, that's how just so you know, that's how Kyle caught the 12.
Yes.
Is because he wouldn't get out of the 12's way as well.
It's not the 3's job to get out of the way of that either.
And he did everything. He did nothing wrong.
No.
Man, my wife's going to divorce me. I'm spending way too much money on this Bud merch. Oh, I'm so glad it's back.
Old Dale bringing back the Bud 8. Where's that, Florence?
That created a tremble in the social media world when that dropped. That was big.
Yeah, part of me loves it, and I think it's so nostalgic and so cool because obviously there's a lot of iconic moments in that car. But I also sit here as a marketing guy, and I'm like, a driver that's over 50 years old being the biggest news story of the week that's no longer in the Cup Series. Like, he's still the most famous guy in NASCAR, and that's not a bad thing, but we need a new trendsetter. We have to be a big deal to the media, to the fans, to the sponsors, and I don't know how we need another Dale Jr. superstar status, and we don't have it.
And I don't see anybody out there right now that's going to the throne. I just don't.
So you don't see a Kyle Larson. Obviously, he has Hendrick cars on the car, so it's not like a Bud, but you don't see Kyle Larson being able to do what Dale is doing in a few years.
He's the closest we have, but he doesn't have that charisma that's going to push you over the top. He's got the talent. I mean, no doubt about that, but he doesn't have that personality spark.
It was cool to see Freddie on the broadcast of the race today, but he must have got stung by a bunch of bees because he looked extra swollen today.
They just showed Freddie Kraft on TV, and it looked like he was about to take my order from McDonald's.
So I'm watching the race, and the camera's panned over to the spotter stand, and Freddie is just taking all these bees like a champ. You're just doing your job. Yeah, Freddie, you keep doing what you do, buddy.
Best part of the race so far is all the bees swarming the spotters up there. Then you got fat Freddie Kraft sitting there, not getting stung because the bee can't get through that skin.
Who was that hottie with that McDonald's body up on that roof when they cut to that? Clearly someone must have slathered that lovely gentleman in honey because the bees were all over him.
That one.
I'm going to wear a Pooh Bear costume next week for sure.
You're just keeping the McDonald's trend going.
Dude,
what was that line again?
That's the biggest billboard
the
ever.
hottie.
Are they paying you?
Hottie with
the McDonald's body.
Eat that, TJ. Try that.
Hey, Freddie.
I claim that as my own. I'd wear that.
Hottie with the McDonald's body.
I'll wear that. I'm that guy all day long.
It was insane.
Megan, now she has a new sling for y'all's backseat adventures.
Oh, gotta love it. Well, I'm loving it. I'm sorry. I'm loving it.
Da, 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 da.
I want to make a point that I was never a fan of this playoff stuff. I'm a little old school. I got to say, I got to hand it to NASCAR. This playoff stuff has got me coming back. It's just plain entertaining. And listening to you guys, all the other podcasts on Dirty Mo, you guys got me hooked. I keep coming back for more, even though I've trashed NASCAR, calling them a fascist dictatorship, and this is dumb, and I hate change. I have to admit that I think I like this change, and the playoff format's pretty awesome.
It's hard, and we talk about that on here a lot. Like, traditionalists want that old school, just season long points, but this is the most entertaining version of our playoffs.
It wouldn't work.
Should it be one race though to dictate the champion?
I like what we're doing now. I'm okay with it. It should be one race at Homestead, not where it's going to be this year.
Yeah, thank God that wasn't the last race last night. You know, thank goodness that wasn't our season ender. My goodness.
Oh.
God, could you imagine if that was deciding the champion, not just the who's going to the championship?
However much Phoenix is paying NASCAR to have the championship race, can we get like a GoFundMe together and try and get it replaced with Miami? Because the juice has got to be worth the squeeze on that one. Like, come on. Why are we going to Phoenix in 2 weeks? We should be right where we were right here.
Well, if you would go to the race in Homestead, they would probably have it at Homestead.
Dude, for having Phoenix as a championship, it's got to be in Homestead. This awesome.
Just want you guys to maybe remind me why Homestead is not the championship race. It clearly should be. That is the best stage of racing I've seen all season long. TJ, you suck.
Go to the race there.
I don't know how knowledgeable y'all are, SpongeBob, but there's an episode where Patrick says they need to push Bikini Bottom somewhere else. Can we do that with Miami? Clearly, the locals don't appreciate it like the rest of us do. So can we move it to anywhere else?
So that's the problem. But to the point of why people don't go, it's dated. You know what I mean? You go up and look at, if you're sitting on pit road looking up, it's you could tell it's dated. Now there's a lot of rumblings that's why the race is moving earlier in spring next year, is because that's going to give them a year and a half or a year and a half plus to make some renovations and then maybe potentially move it back into the playoffs or maybe even potentially the finale. But the problem is nobody goes. The crowd there was nobody there Saturday.
If you're calling in wanting the race moved to Homestead or tweeting about it, news for you: go to Homestead for the race. And it will keep going there.
Yeah, we since we've been going to Phoenix, it's sold out every year, I think.
And it's a great place to go. I mean, I don't there's a lot to do around the area. If you go to the Keys down there, you can make a trip out of it.
Yeah. For sure. It's just
great racetrack though, for sure.
The track, there's no debating. I was listening to the teardown last night, and Jordan said a couple things that I laughed at. One was, and he was right about one thing. This track displays drivers' abilities the best, I think, in our series, especially with this car. You know, it's more on the driver. There's lines guys are running. Chase Briscoe was running a line yesterday, or all weekend really, that I've never really even seen before. We were calling it the slider line. Yeah. He would enter on the bottom and just drive straight across the racetrack in the center of the corner and then go to the wall. And it really didn't matter if anybody was outside of him or not. He was still doing it.
Austin Hill. Yeah. Austin Hill was doing the same stuff.
You know, and then you can run all over that place. And then he made a comment that a NASCAR executive said to him, if we could maybe we just bottle this and bring it to Phoenix. Well, that ain't going to happen. That's the problem with Phoenix. And Jeff said, you could have 1,000 races at Phoenix. It's never going to equal what you saw yesterday.
All right, guys, just hear me out here. Now, I'm a truck driver. I got lots of time to drive and think. I've been thinking about this for days now. This starting to make sense. Who's won the last 2 championships? Forget about the drivers. It's Team Penske. What happened last week? A Hendrick car gets disqualified to put a Penske car back in. So there's 2 Penske cars. Then the lawsuit. What if in NASCAR's financials there's this weird miscellaneous line, and it's only been coming around for the last few years, and it gets linked back to Roger Penske, and Roger Penske's paying NASCAR, and NASCAR is doing to the Penske car, so those can win these damn championships. Holy guys, I think this is happening. Now I'm not crazy. Trust me, I'm not crazy. I swear. I swear to God, I'm not crazy.
Nope, not at all.
This is your truck driver friend from yesterday. I think this is my 3rd call.
Same guy.
I'm telling y'all, I'm not nuts. Think about it. Think about what happened on Sunday. Think. Chase Elliott wrecks Tyler Reddick, who is possibly a shoe-in for a championship. The best driver in all of motorsports, Kyle Larson, his pit crew has the worst pit stop anyone's ever seen out of a Hendrick camp. Hendrick's getting paid too. They're paying Hendrick. And TJ, you're on the inside, man. You were there. I know you may not want to speak out, man, but you got to. If you know something, say something. Don't ask, don't tell is over with. You need to tell us what's going on here. Is Penske buying it? Or all y'all
I
on
don't
the
think that's
payroll?
what Don't Ask, Don't Tell
Are all
was
y'all on
about.
Roger Penske's payroll? I just blew this wide open. Oh my God. Think about it. This goes all the way back to Nashville.
He said think about it 45 times.
So that who can win the race? Joey Logano. He's going to win the championship this year. I'm going to take this to the Associated Press. I'm going to take it somewhere, damn it. Dirty Mo Media ain't going to do about it. But all y'all on the payroll.
Yeah.
Y'all getting checks from Team Penske. The only one that could probably be trusted, Brett Griffin.
That's the one.
Psycho. Who could trust him? He works for
He's a
RCR.
psycho. That's
They're
awesome.
always
Yeah.
the underdogs. That's why they're not in.
I think we've heard enough of this guy. Too.
Yeah, you can go ahead and shut him down.
Yeah,
this started in 2018 when Martin let us move him. That was awesome of Martin.
I seen him lift early, let you get to his
he
bumper.
let us just move him up the track, and it was awesome.
That guy's got too much time on
I
his
love
hands.
the fact that he had to go back to the Clinton administration to get a quote. That's
Psycho, you have any
don't
thoughts on
ask,
that
don't
one?
tell. That is awesome. I love black helicopters, but no, just no.
I try to avoid listening to some of the like call-in stuff, and yesterday I rode out there with Lambert because Nick Payne had won the race, and Lambert had it on, and poor Brad Gilly, some of the calls he's got to deal with. There's one guy just wouldn't stop talking. Brad's like, well, Blaney left him lane. No, he didn't. So talking about Larson, it was infuriating. I don't know how he does
Brad
it.
earns his money on the post-race show over on Sirius.
Jeez.
Yeah, he does.
All right, last call is from a member of our live studio audience. Caleb sent this in.
Hey.
Well, I'm sitting here in Mooresville with TJ, Brett, and Fred, and they're all looking good except their arms and legs are red. 'Cause when they were a spotting down in Homestead, Miami, they got stung by 30,000 big old bumblebees. And you would think that Steve Phelps, with all the money that he's made, would have bought some Raid. And the only thing that swelled up more than the stings on their arms is Tyler Reddick's head when he jumped in MJ's arms. They kinda looked like Shaquille O'Neal and an Irish leprechaun when they partied all night on South Beach until the break of dawn. And I bet dear Denny's jealous 'cause that little tiny fart stole MJ's heart. From third to first on the final lap, Reddick gave Denny and Blaney the boot. And all is looking well for 23-11, except for that lawsuit. Hey, Denny, it was nice knowing you.
Oh man, Caleb is here in the audience. I said he is the audience. It's one person. Man, that was awesome, Caleb.
Well done.
Yeah.
The Irish leprechaun.
Again, we missed the songs, man. Caleb,
that was
Caleb's always great at his songs. I don't know where Jeb disappeared. We don't know where he went. Peyton.
Yeah.
All of our musical
Songwriters.
talent.
You should sing that for Denny too on his show. I'm sure he'd love it.
Oh man, thank you, Caleb. That's a good one.
That was pretty good. Consumer Cellular is the official wireless partner of Brad Keselowski, RFK Racing, and the 6 Car. If they can count on Consumer Cellular, so can you.
Brett Keselowski and RFK Racing knows speed, and that's just what you get with Consumer Cellular. Have you seen Brad's Consumer Cellular convertible? A symbol of savings, you might say. That thing is awesome.
Consumer Cellular has award-winning 100% U.S.-based customer service center, so you can always get the help you need. It's like having your pit crew right there when you need them.
Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable, nationwide coverage as leading carriers, but with plans starting as low as $20 a month.
There are no activation fees and no contracts. Consumer Cellular customers stay because they want to, not because they have to. They don't need to trap their customers.
You can even try Consumer Cellular for 30 days risk-free. If you don't love it, cancel it, but they bet you'll love it. If you're paying too much for wireless service, pump the brakes and switch to Consumer Cellular. They offer big wireless coverage without the big wireless cost.
And now, once you turn 50, you can get 2 lines of unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 each. That's only $60 a month. So why keep spending more than you have to?
Be a winner with Consumer Cellular and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com. This rate plan requires 2 lines of service, age verification, and credit approval. Subject to system and area limits. Taxes and fees apply.
All right, to leave us a message whenever you'd like, call our number 704-802-9572. This first one is from Justin. During your broadcast, how quickly can you build chemistry with other announcers and make sure you're all on the same page when y'all aren't in the same place.
Doug, that's definitely for you.
Okay, I'll take that on. We have varied numbers of people on our radio broadcast. When we go to COTA, we have 7 turn announcers. At Bristol, we might have 1. But everybody's assigned a spot on the racetrack to cover, and that's your responsibility. At COTA, you may have the S's or the horseshoe turn, but everybody's given a spot. So you don't have to worry about what else is going on the racetrack. Take care of your business.
So as spotters, we have the similar situation at road courses where we have multiple spotters, and we have a drop point. Like you have to drop. Is it the same way for the booth?
It is. At most of the 1.5 mile racetracks, the drop point is halfway down the backstretch. Rob Albright will take him there. He stops with a declarative statement. Pat Patterson knows time to go. Pat takes him to the exit of 4, hands him off to Mark Garrow and myself. So that's how you build that chemistry, is you set up some parameters ahead of time. So everybody's got some sideboards. They know where to talk.
As spotters, we also have NASCAR in our ear, and we have Channel 2 where we're talking to the crew chief engineer. Who all is in your ear?
I have NASCAR in my ear. I think I'm the only person live on the air that has NASCAR because I'm just listening for key phrases like put it out or penalties. Those are the 2 things that I'm kind of attuned to. I have a producer in my ear. Laura Beth Barnhart is constantly telling me when to go to break or go to pit road. Brett McMillan, Wendy Venturini. So she's cueing me for that. So she's also in my ear. And Mark Garrow has a direct line to me that he can push a button that nobody else hears while other people are talking, and we can kind of plot what we've going on. So I think I've got a total of 4 different audio inputs coming to me at any, and program, which is what's on the air at the time. So that's 5.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too, is who tells you what reads and when to do them?
Laura Beth, she's really great at this. She's been doing it about half dozen years now, and she'll hand me a card. And now it's kind of just, okay, you handed me this, I'm going to read it right now. But sometimes there's audio instructions to go with that. But there is somebody to pull the whole thing together.
Interesting. All right. Well, Taylor is headed to Martinsville this weekend and wants to know what is a must do while there.
Martinsville Speedway.
Anything else?
That might be literally the only thing that's in Martinsville.
Eat a hot dog.
Eat a hot dog in Martinsville.
There's a great McDonald's there if you're interested.
There's really, I'll tell you, if you want a good home cooking, go to Clarence's Steakhouse. It's not far down the road from Martinsville. Come out of the track, make a left.
I used to see Sterling Marlin in there. Seemed like every time I went.
Yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth Pizza is also pretty good. That's a local spot. If you are into kind of dirty, dingy dive bars, go down to the Dutch Inn.
You really sold it there.
Well, some people are into that kind of thing. If you want a historic place there in Martinsville to go get a beer, go to the Dutch Inn. It's not the nicest bar on the planet, but that's where
it's nicer than it used to be.
Is it?
The first one burned down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true.
I bet there's some stories from the 80s and 90s that.
Oh, yeah. That's just one of them places where you got to at least drive by and point it out. But yeah, there's really not a whole lot to do in the town of Martinsville.
Stay at the track.
Yes.
Don't leave. This next one is from Donovan and more for you, Freddie. Does MJ ever come over the radio and talk to the team?
No. He's just listening. I don't even know if he has a microphone on his headset. Yeah. And it's my wife always will say something crazy to me. She's, I forget there was somewhere Bristol, maybe me and Bubba. This happens about once a month, I'd say. Bubba told me to shut the F up. And I just came back with some smart ass remark about, all right, 10-4, shutting the F up. And the week later, MJ reached out to him and he's like, hey, you and Freddie okay? Like, I know you told him to, and Megan's like, do you ever think it's weird that Michael Jordan even knows who the hell you are? And I'm like, yes, it's very strange to me. Like you see him down there sitting, like it's intimidating when he's a lot of times he's on the 23 box behind Booty hanging out and he's sitting there listening to everything you say. And you're like, do not screw up in this moment, please.
Oh, this next one is from Lisa. What kind of incentives do spotters receive, if any, for making the championship round and if you win?
It's contract dependent. I would hope most teams now, you have bonuses to make the playoffs. You have bonuses to advance in the playoffs. Usually they step up in the each round, I would think. That's not the case for everybody, though. There's some guys that don't get any bonuses.
So we will get a hottie with McDonald's body boat if you win the championship one year?
If I do, yeah, maybe. I don't think we're not going to buy a boat. It's not going to be. I might be able to buy your old boat from Doug. But yeah, it's a lot of teams too also have bonus structures to where, Tyler Reddick yesterday is going to help my bonus program. Him just it's company wide bonuses really. So that was a good day for me yesterday.
This one is from Steezy Racing. Would we rather have 2 dates at Miami or the championship in Miami?
Go, Doug.
Championship at Miami. Yeah, I think we're almost at a point now. It's hard to argue 2 dates for just about any racetrack, but championship at Miami, I think we're at a point right now that's close to unanimous.
I agree. Yeah, the 2-date thing we've seen now to places where we've cut races. Pocono comes to mind, Dover, where you've taken a race away, and the crowd at that one race now that it's remaining is much, much better than it had been in years past.
Master of Light asks what we think of Haley Deegan joining HMD Motorsports for 2025.
Is that the Indy Next team? Yeah.
I want to see her succeed. I really wanted her to be successful here, and I think in the right situation, TJ, she would have been. You obviously spotted for her, know what she's capable of on the racetrack better than we do, but we need a female star power person in the sport, period.
Yeah, I think I give her credit for going and doing it. I mean, that's something she's probably not familiar with and going and doing it, and I've always thought she – coming to the Truck Series it's tough. If you're not in the right situation right in the beginning, it's tough. And that series is tough either coming into it anyway. But she's proved that she can win races and be successful. So I'd like to see her do well.
Yeah, I mean, and she to that point, to your point, Brett, about needing a female, you're absolutely right. And she's talented. She's the most talented that's come through in a long time, I think. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot in the pipeline. There's Tony Bridinger's probably going to end up in a truck next year, I would assume. Jade is the next one that's most talented, but I don't know if she's even going to, what route she's going to take. She's running midgets now. She's unbelievably fast, unbelievable race car driver.
Does she have money tied to her?
She has Toyota's supporting her quite a bit. And Toyota's supporting, obviously they're providing their development program, but yeah, I would say.
So she doesn't have a bunch of money behind her?
I would say more so the grassroots driver kind of trying to work their way up.
The OEM money stops when you get to Cup.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just does.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But you're absolutely right, though. If we're going to, cliche here, grow the sport, we've got to have a couple of female drivers that aren't just in the show, but they are the show. And we desperately need that. We got that spark a little bit from Danica. Haley was very held going into this. Everybody loved the potential. Didn't work out. I hope this other adventure is good for her. But I've got friends and they've got young daughters, and that's, who they want to meet at the track? Haley Deegan.
Yep, same.
Come to Millbridge, you'll see her almost every week.
They do.
Next one. Favorite race you spotted for that you didn't win? And this is from Jake.
Probably Atlanta for me. Brian Patty, Michael Waltrip Racing. Clint had a 13-second lead, and we were literally just cruising around there, and we freaking blew up. But it was one of those days where you felt like you were spotting for a Jimmy Johnson or a Kyle Larson, and I've spotted for very talented race car drivers, but never guys that were that elite talent level everywhere you went. And you're always envious of the big leads that they have and the dominating fashion. No matter who spots for Kyle Larson is going to win races. No matter who spotted for Kyle Busch during his prime, he was going to win those races, a lot of races, not necessarily all of them. But it's one of those days where I look back and go, you know what, it sucks we didn't win. But it was cool to just experience dominating a race.
Yeah. For me, it was the Daytona Indy 500. The Daytona 500 a couple years ago that Hendrick won. We lost by a damn bumper. But it was really cool to be on the roof because Tommy Baldwin was up there. And Tommy gave me my first break in the Cup Series. He gave Doug Campbell his first break in the Cup Series. He gave Joey Campbell, Doug's brother, his first break in the Cup Series. And that night, we finished 1, 2, 3 in the Daytona 500. I was next to Doug. Joey was getting around to go to the outside of us, and Tommy was running around crying on the roof, just proud of us, I guess. So that moment's a moment that I'll always remember, and it was just one of them things where I was so pissed off that we just lost the Daytona 500 by a half a car, but it was to one of my best friends, and then to see Tommy's reaction, it kind of all went away in a moment.
When you get my age, you'll forget about that, because that's the hard ones to remember. Those aren't the fun ones.
I'll leave us with this last question from
TJ. You don't get to go.
Yeah, I guess I won't answer.
Oh, sorry, TJ.
No, that's all good.
You're just a little quiet sometimes.
I was just
Forget
listening.
You're there.
He won them all. He never finished second.
There's a lot of moments. There's definitely a couple Daytona 500s that I feel like got away. Probably more of those than anything. I think I don't know. I think there was a year that year where all the tires were blowing at Indy. We were running really well in that race with Dale Jr. and we ended up cutting a tire, but that'd have been really cool to do, win that. And that Daytona 500 will break your heart. It's
still breaking mine.
But
that's the only thing I wanted to do. I didn't do was win one of those.
Yeah, it's definitely. And if you get to the Final Four, if you do get to the championship race and you don't win it, it sucks too.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in
already?
and submitting your questions. All right, moving on to What an Idiot. Doug, I don't know if you would like to kick things off here. I'm afraid of what Freddie might have to say.
I don't think Doug's need to kick it. Doesn't need to kick it off.
Let somebody else. Let somebody else receive the punt.
Well, you're kind of retired, so you can pretty much say whatever you want now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll go first. My What an Idiot is a Clemson fan, and he's sitting to my left, and his name is Jay, because he played that annoying-ass truck driver for 20 minutes during Reaction Theater. So you are the first What an Idiot, and the second What an Idiot is whoever that truck driver guy was.
Good luck stopping Marcel Reed this weekend against Texas A&M. Y'all are in trouble.
You want to make a bet? $100 right now?
That you beat him?
Oh, yeah, however you want to bet it.
I mean, after what he did against LSU, $200 now. I ain't as wealthy as you.
$300.
After what he did against LSU in that second half, I'd be concerned.
If you're so confident, put the money down.
I gotta worry about Louisville this weekend.
I screwed TJ of $100 this week.
Oh my gosh.
There's my 100.
I had him talked into it too.
Did you beat him?
I don't know. I think we did.
He finished 20th.
Oh yeah, we beat him.
Who you got any idiots?
It's hard not. We're at the Hall of Fame idiot level now. I mean, for this guy.
Yeah.
So,
Connor.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just keep pouring gas on that poor kid's fire. My one idiot, it has to be. My one idiots were coming from the sports world. Friday night, I thought it was going to be that poor Dodgers fan that reached over the wall and caught the ball and tried to give the Yankees a home run. That was not great. And that poor guy, did you see the next time they cut to him, he's telling his kid to pack their. He's the only guy that has ever left a tie game, World Series game in the bottom of the ninth inning. But my one idiot has to go to the guy from the Bears game last night. Did you see this? Did you see the video?
I did not see
You
this.
took mine.
The defensive back.
Yeah, the defensive
Oh,
back.
I did see this.
He's down there. He's taunting the crowd, and then he's the one that deflects the ball into the guy's hand. That is Hall of Fame one idiot status there too.
His
Sorry,
meetings.
Doug. I didn't mean to steal
that's Hall of Fame.
His meetings are going to go bad this week.
If you're the head coach, though, what do you say to him?
What the are you doing? That's
I mean,
what you say to him.
The beginning part,
But when they snapped the ball,
he's
his
not
back
even
was to the
looking.
ball.
Yeah. But they're told to knock the ball down, and he kind of did, but he deflected it up. I mean, I don't know.
Tip drill.
Like, yeah.
First thing Bodie said was, tip drill, Dad. I was like, yep.
That's just the fact. I saw the video and I figured something. Like, I knew the result before I saw the video, so I saw him taunting. I'm like, oh wow, that sucks that he taunted and they won. And then I realized he was the one that deflected the ball to the
He
guy.
runs over
and
there and
I'm
hits
like,
it, yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, that's not good.
I mean, cut him. I don't even know who he is.
I don't.
He
think
might be
you
good,
can-
but I mean,
honestly, he did hit the ball, but he tipped it up. I don't know. Like,
to Brett's point, he is facing the crowd, taunting them, and the receivers are running down the field behind him.
the worst part is taunting.
Opposite
You know
of
what
what
I
an
mean?
idiot,
Like-
though. We had an amazing concert here in Charlotte over the weekend. Luke Combs spearheaded it. They raised over $25 million. Doug, I know that's close to your heart.
It is for Western North Carolina. Luke Combs, Eric Church, both Appalachian graduates. Church, though, lives in the Carolina world. Luke Combs is still a Boone guy, but $24 million, great concert. Avett Brothers showed up, lots of people. Couldn't be better. What an idiot. The 9% of the people that said that Homestead wasn't a good race.
Yes.
Where are you? What do you want? Collectively, 9% idiots.
Luckily, it's down to it's down to
It's
6.
It's
Luckily.
6. I was wrong. Not 8.
Okay.
It was 6.
It's changed. I mean, the trend, the late voters are coming in.
Listen, Blaney has some fans.
Yeah.
I
get it, but
that vote, that poll is heavily swayed on race winners.
Who wins?
Oh,
I mean, the funny thing is that poll, like the one thing about that poll is you'll never, I feel very confident, never, ever, ever, ever see 100% good race ever.
Bristol, the first spring Bristol.
Yeah, but it's
I know, never got.
There's going to be, I think the highest is like 96 or 97. Like there's just people out there that just want to be pains in the ass.
Well, so far nobody's been voted in the Hall of Fame unanimously.
Yeah.
So there's always that person.
Dale Jr. leads every lap at Pocono. 99% good race.
Yeah.
One person.
I'm going to vote no on that one. Just I'll be that guy.
Let's move on to DBC picks. Congratulations to Brett.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick and I talked before the race.
I was
pumped him
gonna say,
up.
clearly.
And I said, man, just go win this thing at all costs. And that's what he did.
I can only tie you now.
Give him a shout out.
I had
Denny screwed me.
Kyle. I needed Kyle to complete that pass and win the race. We collabed against you last week while you weren't here, and
it didn't work.
Didn't work out for me. Which it wouldn't have mattered. I would have picked Blaney anyway, and I'd have been more mad. So instead, I'm gonna pick Blaney this week. Make sure I haven't picked him yet. Hold on a second.
You haven't picked him.
Okay, good.
I will take Chase. TJ.
Oh, this is taking a turn for the worse. Oh boy, man. I guess I can't. I've just picked Denny. I think so. He's crossed off. He's not crossed off my list, but
No.
I'll go Larson. That's all I can do.
Denny Hamlin. I kind of want to lay up so I can pick first next week and win this thing, but I'll play fair. Denny Hamlin. And Doug, you're not involved in DBC picks, which I'm leading, by the way. I can't lose at this point. I'm leading by so
You're
much.
locked out.
I'm locked into at least
Doug,
tie.
You got these guys stymied?
What really matters is who loses.
I've won this the last 2 years, just so you
Okay.
know. If we're gonna brag about it, I mean.
But who you got winning this
What
race?
place you in?
Oh, I'm trying to get out of last here so I can beat Casey.
I'm going against a guy I think will break a trend. I think it's going to be William Byron.
Yeah, he won the first race.
One up there last time, and he needs a W. They need to get something going on before they get to Phoenix.
Brett, you mentioned that you want to be able to pick first next for Phoenix. Who are you taking for this championship?
Well, I think if even if he's not in it, I think Blaney's the guy. I don't know how you don't pick Ryan Blaney at Phoenix. So I have him left over since Freddie used him. I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot.
That's good to know. So hopefully I pick first next week. Doug, who would you pick for Phoenix to win the championship?
I think Christopher Bell may be our next champion.
I would agree with that statement.
I think Christopher Bell's got a good shot.
He made a comment about not caring if the media is talking about him a few weeks ago. As a media member, how would you take that?
I don't talk about Christopher Bell a lot. He's not outgoing. He doesn't. Nothing about him says, "Look at me, talk about me." So I get where he's coming from, but you just watch him on the racetrack, and he gets locked in. And I think he could easily have twice as many wins this year as he does. I can see him going there. I think he's got the mindset now to go and win the whole thing.
I think the guy you got to be worried about, and we talked about this last week. I think Bell. I agree with you, Doug. I've said since he's been so good this year on them flat mile ovals that Bell's the guy to beat if he gets in the Final Four. But by their performance yesterday, I think it's pretty obvious that the 22 team has moved on to Phoenix. They didn't have anywhere near the speed that Blaney had. They don't really give a what happened yesterday. They don't care about what happens this week. They are worried about one thing, and that's what they're locked in on right now. And he's going to be tough to beat when we get there.
Yeah, I think I said that a few weeks. The last person you want in this deal and the last person that you want to lock in first is Joey Logano. So
he's working on Martinsville sim this week or Phoenix sim?
Phoenix.
He's probably been on Phoenix for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, you can't give a guy like Joey an advantage, and they have. So Good luck.
So anyway, before we get out of here, Doug, I did want to ask you one question because one of our cast over here, Blake, behind the TV screen, is an up-and-coming announcer. He does the Cars Tour races with our buddy Eric Brennan. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that's trying to break into the sport as a play-by-play or color guy?
One, every opportunity you have to get behind the mic. There are no small chances. Do it. Whatever gets in front of you that you can announce, you need to do that, because every time you do it, you get better at your craft. That's the number one thing that I tell people. And work on your own style. Don't try to be, I was never trying to be the next Ken Squire or Mike Joy or Barney Hall, who are all three people I admire, but you got to find your inner voice. And once you do that, then the rest of it comes fairly easy.
Does a sim world make it easier for those guys to get those reps?
I think that's where our stars are going to come from in the broadcasting world going on. It's funny you mentioned that, because I've talked a lot about, because there aren't as many opportunities to go be the short track announcer or a smaller series announcer. There's a lot of opportunities to get on the sim, and the big thing is you're announcing at the top level tracks. All of a sudden you're calling a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway or Darlington or Homestead, and you get practice in real time, just like the drivers do.
What's your expectations for Martinsville this weekend?
I think we'll see something similar to what we saw in Homestead, in the sense that the top drivers are going to dominate the spot. I think there's a dynamic that happens that the other teams now don't want to be that team that knocks one of the championship drivers out. But I sense with 50 laps to go, we're going to have all of the playoff people right up front again, just like we did last week.
I think we see a Hail Mary from somebody. We saw it yesterday from Tyler Reddick, and somehow or another it worked. It didn't look like it was going to, but it did.
Yeah, just perfect timing for that caution for him.
Was perfect.
Maybe we'll have another Richmond.
And listen, I think they're bringing a different tire, so hopefully it promotes more passing. There? Yeah, but I don't know what tire they picked. I mean, there was one tire. If they picked it, well, our race is going to be amazing. But they didn't. They're not going to pick that one. There was one that had I don't even remember, a second and a half of fall off in 20 laps or something like that. But I don't think they could make those tires fast enough. So, there's going to be a new tire, so hopefully that changes the dynamic, because we need something different to have in Martinsville, because the last. Just this car really that hasn't been great racing there. But hopefully, to your point, hopefully we see some crazy strategy, see some guys get off sequence, and because it's hard to pass. So if you get up front and don't have a huge tire deficit, you can maybe hang on for a little while.
Doug's last lap, does it end Sunday night of Homestead, or does it end December 31st? When are we going to here?
December 31st. I'll stay employed by Speedway Motorsports up until then. But in some sense, it was over when I got to call the last finish at Las Vegas, because I won't do the live play-by-play again. And that was a rough couple of days after that, by the way, Brett. It really, It took me a little while to adjust that for the first time in a long time, there's not an airline ticket waiting in my phone, or I'm not looking at the calendar going, well, when do we go to Atlanta? So that's taken a little bit of getting used to.
You're a Hall of Fame guy.
Thank you.
It'll happen in your lifetime. I hope.
That would put the cherry on top. It certainly would.
I value everything you've done for the sport, and all the different things you've pioneered. And we're off to Martinsville this weekend and looking for a crazy race with a bunch of gut grenade hot dogs.
Love those hot dogs.
Eat about 40 of them in a weekend. That's fun. But yeah, hopefully we have a good race. And TJ, I hope we beat you.
Yeah, well, you want to bet on it?
All right, we'll see everybody out in Martinsville.
Doug, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Congratulations on such a successful career, too.
Thanks so much, Casey. Appreciate it. Been
We out.
blessed.
Have a great week.
Holla.